A change is going to come. I was born here, and here I stay, with you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I will lay down my bucket where I am now, right here with you in the British West Indies. Unquote. Mr. Chairman, Madam Deputy Chairperson, Deputy Political Leader, Joan Yule Williams, Party and Election, Deputy Political Leader, Legislative, Ms. Marlene MacDonald, Deputy Political Leader, Policy, Mr. Rohan Sinanan, Deputy Political Leader, Tobago, Head of the Island Council, PNM Tobago, Mr. Orville London, members of the Central Executive, mayors, chairmen of corporations, members of the General Council, and other officers, members of the PNM, specially invited guests, awardees, members of the media, members of the protective services, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, children. With the historic words of the quotation I just mentioned, I join with all the PNM family in extending greetings and best wishes to you all, our members, wherever you may be on the occasion of this, the 50th anniversary of our beloved party. I have no doubt that the years ahead will see us celebrating, not in opposition, but where we rightly belong, as the duly and honestly elected, honorable, committed, and responsible government of all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The declaration which I quoted at the commencement of my remarks was made in the year 1955. The words encapsulate the most far-reaching commitment which was ever given to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the West Indies. Many of you were not born, but to those who had the pleasure and privilege of having heard those first words, you will readily admit that today, if Trinidad and Tobago can claim the distinction of being a small but burgeoning metropolis, it owes that distinction to the man who laid down his bucket in the presence of an audience comprising over 20,000 citizens of Trinidad and Tobago in the hallowed space of Woodford Square. I refer to no less a person than the first and foremost political leader of the People's National Movement, the first Chief Minister, the first Premier, and the illustrious first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, the indisputable father of the nation, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams. That today, 59 years later, we can assemble here as the one and only political party which has stood the test of time, the only political party in Trinidad and Tobago to have remained firm, solid, unshakable, and united as we have always been. We owe that honor to the vision and foresight of the individuals who came together 59 years ago on January 24, 1956, to establish for all times the most outstanding, powerful, all-embracing, and nationwide political party with which the people of Trinidad and Tobago have ever been blessed, the People's National Movement. A movement which proclaims that we are not a party in the ordinary sense of the word, but rather we are a rally of all the people, cutting across race, color, creed, religious persuasion, and geographical location. working together for the common good. That common good is to develop this nation to the best of our ability so that all our people can experience the best quality of life that Mother Trinidad and Tobago can afford us. Today, we salute Andrew Carr, Mr. Wilton Rogers. We salute Mr. Kamaluddin Mohammed. We salute Mr. John Donaldson Sr. We salute Mr. George Richards. We salute Mr. Nicholas Simonet. We salute Ms. Isabel Tichet, Mr. Gerard Montano, Sir Larry Constantine, Sheila Lamorel, A.N.R. Robinson, and most of all, we salute the father of the nation, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, and all other worthy pioneers. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as we jubilantly join hearts and hands in celebrating our party's 59th year of existence, as we step into our 60th year of service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we gaze upon a troubled and turbulent world. A world embroiled in confrontation, conflict, and controversy. Wars and threats of wars cause millions to flee and seek refuge in far-off lands. Dictators, despots, and demagogues continue to trample upon the democratic principles for which the free world still fight so valiantly. Man's inhumanity to man has scarcely seen more evil days. Poverty, joblessness, epidemics, and national disasters litter the international landscape. The weapons of war shifted from massive firepower to the ill-conceived determination of individual suicide bombers to maim, to kill, or destroy even the most innocent bystander. The wealthy nations of the world continue to thrive on those that are considerably less endowed. No one knows where the next terrorist will strike. And even as we speak, we face yet another grave international economic crisis while still recovering from the one of the recent past. All of this in an era of treachery, deceit, waste, and corruption. And it goes on and on, unabated, uninhibited, and unhindered, even here in Trinidad and Tobago. Here at home, in our beloved country, we are forced to tolerate and endure the constant pain inflicted upon us by an administration whose entrenched model of divisiveness and unchecked indiscretions knows no boundaries. They plunder the treasury, make a mockery of democracy and our institutions, disrespect and disregard the rights and freedoms of the people, and cast aside any semblance of consideration for the views and opinions of the masses. They belittle our women, dishonor our icons, past and present, tamper recklessly with our nation's constitution and parliament, and smear the good name of innocent law-abiding citizens. The Treasury has become the lynx guard for their friends and families. The government institutions have become their playthings, and they violate every conceivable principle of decency and decorum, which in prior dispensations stamped their mark on the personality of the honorable men and women who in days not too long past walked the corridors and graced the hallowed walls of our esteemed and treasured parliamentary chambers. The once internationally respected and admired stature that Trinidad and Tobago so magnificently enjoyed has overnight been emasculated and disfigured to the point where our people are forced to mask their nationality and bow their heads in shame as the daily headlines portray a country whose only claim to fame now is the notoriety brought about by the unprecedented levels of graft and corruption and the unrivaled spate of crime and lawlessness which has crippled our nation and positioned us abominably as number 13 among the countries with the highest level of crime and lawlessness per thousand in the entire world. This, my dear people, is merely a snapshot of the unimaginable depths to which, under the atrocities of the current UNC-led administration, we have precipitously descended. That is the daunting challenge which, as the PNM prepares itself to return to governance, we will have to face up to sooner or later, whenever the election bell is rung. But we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. In the run-up to the election, you can expect our unprincipled opponents to indulge in the worst form of whole-scale propaganda that you could ever imagine. They will be able to do this because in 5 short years, they would have enriched themselves, their families, and their favored friends in ways to a level which you could never have imagined. They will boast about having provided universal free secondary education to our children. But they will not tell you that it was the PNM who brought it from 0% to 85%, and all they had to do was the last 15%. They will boast of a few extensions of the water supply system, as though they invented WASA and introduced the vast majority of our population to pipe-borne water. They will pound their chests, claiming the credit for the government-assisted tertiary education program, GATE. But they will not tell you that that was a PNM policy and program, and that it was the PNM that converted the Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture, grossly limited in scope, into the massive multidisciplinary St. Augustine campus and the University of the West Indies. It was the PNM that paved the way, leading to free tertiary education, which they themselves have hugely benefited from so profusely. Not a word of recognition or gratitude. They will also not tell you that it was the PNM which established the University of Trinidad and Tobago, which they now embrace with open arms. They will not tell you those things and how they objected and resisted them at their birth. They will boast about a simple boardwalk in Chagaramas, but they will not be honest enough to say to the young people that it was the PNM who fought single-handedly against the might of the United States of America in a bloodless battle to return Chagaramas into the hands of the people, opening up the most prestigious valleys, waterfronts, and beaches for the enjoyment of all of our citizens, and creating yet another industrial park for investment and job creation. They would never tell the nation that. They will take responsibility for constructing part of the Point 14 highway, but they will not tell the people that it was a project which they have inherited from the PNM, and that the Point 14 highway would never have seen the light of day had the PNM not built the Uriah Butler Highway to San Fernando, which they tried so desperately to stop in 1986. They will also not tell you that the original cost of the Point 14 highway, which is now being built at minimum $7.5 billion, was estimated for just over $4.5 billion. They found a series of ways to inflate the costs and enrich themselves. They will tell you about the number of houses which they have completed, but they will not tell you that it was the PNM who started the process, and that it was the PNM that set up the National Housing Authority, and the PNM created the Housing Development Corporation and acquired the lands to start those houses. They will also not tell you about the unquantifiable number of housing estates and high-rises which the PNM built and constructed affordable accommodation available to the people, like those in Maloney, Bonaire, Oropoon, Curep, River Estate, Valencia, Point Lisas, Powder Magazine, Malabar, Embarcadère, Morvan, Mayaro, Diamond Vale, Bonaccord, just to name a few. No, they would not tell you that because it is the truth. And they are always jittery and uncomfortable when faced with the truth. They will not want you to remember how resolutely opposed to public sector housing construction they were until they came into office and realized that it involved awarding of contracts. They fell in love with the policy. Boy, how they love contracts. If they had known so many contracts were involved in housing, they would never have opposed the public sector housing program. It was a UNC minister who, in opposition to the PNM and its public sector housing policy, is on record as stating, while he was a housing minister, that there is no need for a Ministry of Housing. Today, in a great about-face, the Ministry of Housing is virtually running the government and the country. They will tell you about the mega farms which they are distributing, but they will not admit that it was for the privileged few, for their friends and their families. And they will not tell you that it was the PNM which divided up lands in Wallerfield and Carsonfield estates and made agricultural lands available to small farmers in plots which included affordable housing, essential appliances, cattle, goats, sheep, seedlings at subsidized prices and subsidies to support the operations. They will never tell you that. They will never tell you that. Don't ever expect them to talk to you about Point Lisas, the pride and joy of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the most envied technologically driven petrochemical industrial estate in the region, which has not only transformed and modernized the landscape of central Trinidad, but allowed for exploration into uncharted careers for our bright young boys and girls outside of the traditional doctor and lawyer. Now we can see our young men and women pursuing a variety of careers in all fields of endeavor, taking control of the most lucrative positions in the energy sector. And of course, they will never tell of the thousands of direct and indirect employment opportunities which have originated out of the establishment of that industrial estate. They will want you to forget that they opposed the coming of Point Lisas and the initial industries. They had badmouthed it, they had condemned it, because to them it was PNM. That is their style. That is how they have governed the country when they had the opportunity to govern the country. That is why we are the disaster we are facing today. They will try to fool you about the unemployment figures being the lowest ever. God alone knows, in the absence of a CSO, where they're getting those numbers from. And of course, they will not tell you how Trinidad and Tobago became the world #1 exporter of ammonia and methanol, and success stories with the shipment of ammonia, the urea. Will they tell you how the Iron and Steel Company became the flagship of an iron and steel industry in the region, employing thousands of talented and gifted citizens? No, they will not. The truth is very hard for them to swallow and to speak. Was it not they who stood in the way of the construction of the aluminum smelter in La Brea, which would have gained the country so much additional foreign exchange and employ hundreds of our people and lift La Brea and environs into the 21st century? They successfully killed that project, and up to this day, they flatly refuse to tell the population what is the total cost of the cancellation of that project. Instead, we were left with a modern state-of-the-art power plant with most of the full generating capacity lying idle and wasting. When they eventually turned their attention to that plant, they described it as an event of a red letter day as if they had built it, as if they had anything to do with it. Who was it that initiated negotiations to build the North-South pipeline straight down to Point 14, paving the way for the extension of water supplies to all the rural and urban villages along the way, so they can boast about it today? How did water get there? Who built the Navet Dam? Who built the North Orapuch Dam? Who built the large Arena Dam, which supply water all over the country to most of the population? Which dam did they build? Always promising waterfall by some year. Yet they are spending millions of dollars of your money to campaign by telling you foolishness to mask the cesspool of corruption at Wassa to its current top, middle, and bottom. What about the hundreds of other institutions like the health centers, the elementary schools, the secondary schools, the community centers? Who started the policy of early childhood centers? Who was it who built the Mount Hope Medical Sciences Complex that they're fighting over? Medical Science Complex and Teaching Hospital, where our young people go to study medicine, dentistry, nursing, hospital management, veterinary sciences, just to name a few. Go back to the archives, check the records, and see how they opposed the vision of the building of the Mount Hope Medical Sciences Complex. Not a good word at its birth, not a good word at its infancy. Today they can't get in there sideways, they're crowding you out. And all I can go on and say a lot more about that, but tonight is not the time. That time will come. A change is going to come. A campaign is on its way, and an election is in front of us. That time will come. But the time has come for the people of Trinidad and Tobago to take pride in what they've achieved under the PNM stewardship, to call upon the other side to come clean and to level with the population and not deprive us of our pride of place, which we should all enjoy as the foremost developed country in the CARICOM and Greater Caribbean region. At least that was up until 2010. All that the pretenders have done since they assumed office in May 2010 is to piggyback on some existing PNM policies, PNM programs, and PNM projects, finished and unfinished, simply by extending and expanding upon some that was already there, basking in the glory of the phenomenal array of development projects and programs which the PNM put at the disposal of the population at large, not only for now, but for generations yet to come. The list is incalculable. But I know that now is not the time to go into any further detail, but the campaign is coming. We will deal with them on the campaign trail. I serve fair warning to those on the other side. Come clean, come straight, and above all, come soon. And I want to put them on notice. No lie you tell, no misinformation you dispense, no untruth you present, no distortion you concoct, no cover-up you mask will escape the vigorous attention of the people's national movement. Call the election now. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. My dear people, as you all know, your party has devoted the past 3 years developing its master policy framework, which will inform the program of activities which we will follow in advancing the future growth and development of our country. They have done absolutely nothing of the kind. They have no original ideas, plenty brawn, plenty questionable money but no brain, and plenty greed and indecency. They have nothing significant and nothing useful to offer. After 4.5 years, they've shown us nothing. You will see their worst in the coming weeks and months. The first draft and first batch of our policy documents is out for public comment. They can be found on our website, and soon we'll be developing it further when we put other comments in from various sectors. Following this, we will prepare a revised version for further consultation with the special interest groups if time permits. The business sector, the professional bodies, the church, and the not-for-profit organizations and the women's groups, and youth groups, trade union, and so on. All sectors will be invited to comment and have an input into that policy framework. When all is said and done, it will be a policy framework by the people, of the people, and for the people. Because that is what the PNM is always about. A party, an institution, by the people, of the people, for the people. We encourage you party members to study it. The first draft, as I said, is already on the website. Download it, study it among your party groups and all party organs, and give us the benefit of any comments which you may have. Balisier House will receive them, and we will treat them as they come in. Discuss them with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your peers, and well-wishers. Invite the views even with your detractors. All views are important to us and to the country. So we welcome them all. All views will be respectfully considered and taken into account. Perilous times are ahead. The economic scenario worldwide brought about by the drastic decline in oil and gas prices telling a story. This is no time for fooling around and not leveling with our citizenry. The PNM will come clean. The PNM will come clear. The PNM will come honest. And the PNM will come straight. The PNM will come to victory on those terms. These are the only principles we know. The road ahead is not easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy. But that's precisely the reason why this country needs the people's national movement. Treacherous times are ahead, but the crown of glory will find its place only upon the heads of the honest, the genuine and hardworking among us, who endure to the very end. The PNM's enviable and unparalleled track record, which the government is training every sinew to erase, is haunting them at every turn. It has become a thorn in their side, and the side of all the UNC propagandists and protagonists. But truth is an impregnable wall and an indelible ink. They can never break us down, and they will never erase our proud history. We will keep them on the run until they become exhausted and can take it no more. Their deeds will consign them to the political graveyards of the other 50 political parties that no longer exist. And they will join them there, where they rightfully belong. The current misfits started with 5 years, and now they're down to a few weeks. Soon, they can rape the treasury no more. We've had enough. No more. Soon, they will insult our intelligence no more. And soon, they will be no more. They will disintegrate and wither away. But the PNM lives on. 59 consecutive years. Unto our 60th year of service to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. 59 years of service. And we never get weary yet. We never get weary yet. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to the PNM. And may Almighty God continue to bless all the people of Trinidad and Tobago as we live, as we shout, great is the PNM. Great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall prevail.